Welcome, sleepy soul. I'm your storyteller tonight, here to help you drift into deep, peaceful sleep. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too. I thought I was just going to Walmart. That's it. Nothing more than a simple trip after a long day. Milk, cereal, sandwich bread, maybe eggs if they weren't overpriced again. But what happened inside that store, and just after we left, would crawl into my thoughts at night and sit there for weeks. It was June, the kind of June we get in Mesa, Arizona. The asphalt already soft under your shoes by noon, and by 5 p.m., it felt like the sun had a personal vendetta. My 9-year-old son, Liam, had been home all day. Summer break had just started, and I was balancing remote work with parenting. That afternoon, I had bounced between Zoom calls, folding laundry, and trying to figure out why the summer camp payment still hadn't cleared. I needed to clear my head and stock the fridge. So I grabbed my keys and called out, "Liam, shoes on. We're doing a quick Walmart run." He came jogging out of his room, already wearing those beat-up Spider-Man sneakers. "Can I check the Nerf aisle?" "You can look," I said, grabbing my wallet. "But we're not buying anything today. Deal?" He grinned. Deal. Our local Walmart was the big one off Southern Avenue, the kind that never has enough carts, where the AC always feels slightly broken. But it's close and it has everything. We pulled into the parking lot around 5:15 p.m., the sun glaring off windshields like flashbulbs. Inside, it was the usual mix of noise and chaos. Carts squeaking, toddlers crying, that weird hum of too many lights. Liam beelined toward the toy section as I steered the cart past produce. I told him I'd be 2 aisles over, checking school supplies. It started normal. I was scanning discount notebooks when I casually glanced over the top of the aisle to check on Liam. He was crouched near the bottom shelf, flipping through a clearance bin of Nerf darts. But there was someone else there too, a man standing at the end of the aisle, maybe mid-40s, thin, wearing a tucked-in gray t-shirt, faded jeans, and a baseball cap. What caught me was that he wasn't shopping. No cart, no basket, nothing in his hands but some random plastic toy dinosaur. He wasn't talking to Liam, wasn't even near him, but he wasn't doing anything either. Just standing. I looked at him. He looked up, made eye contact, and immediately turned away, walking down the next aisle. It didn't sit right. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe he was just killing time. A few minutes later, I circled back to grab Liam. He was now comparing blasters, telling me about some Fortnite limited edition whatever. I nodded absently, but my eyes scanned. The man was back. This time, he was at the far end of the aisle near the RC cars, again with nothing in his hands, pretending to browse. Still no cart. Still alone. I smiled at Liam and said, "All right, let's finish the list together." He didn't argue. I think he sensed something in my tone. As we turned toward groceries, I looked back. The man had turned too, keeping distance but there. Quiet, like he belonged there but didn't. Down the cereal aisle, he passed at the far end again. Still no items. I could feel it now, not just in my head, but in my stomach. That crawling, wrong feeling that you can't explain until it's too late. I faked forgetting something and circled back through frozen foods. And there he was, not even pretending to browse this time, just lingering by the glass doors of microwavable meals, hands in his pockets, looking sideways. That was enough. I put my hand on Liam's shoulder and leaned down. "Stay right next to me now, okay?" He nodded. Didn't even ask why. I pushed the cart faster, heading toward self-checkout. I glanced back once, and he was there, rounding the corner like he meant to go somewhere, but never quite getting there. But once we passed through the metal detectors, he didn't follow. I scanned the lot through the sliding doors. Nothing. I thought maybe that was it. We paid, bagged up, and walked into the blinding late sun. Our car was parked 3 rows down near a cart return. I was juggling the groceries, digging for the fob, when Liam's voice startled me. "Isn't that the guy from inside?" I looked up. He was crouched between two cars in the row across from ours, pretending, badly, to tie his shoe. No cart, no bag, just him, looking. I didn't say anything. I just clicked the fob, popped the trunk, and opened the back door. "Liam, in. Now." He obeyed without hesitation. I loaded the groceries fast, slammed the trunk shut, then closed Liam's door. And then I did something I didn't even think about. I walked back toward the store, straight through the heat, ignoring the sweat on my back, not looking behind me until I passed through the sliding doors. Once inside, I turned and scanned the parking lot. He was standing now. No more pretending. He had stood up, hands in pockets, facing our car, like he was waiting. I walked straight to customer service. "I think someone followed us through the store and now he's outside near our car." He wasn't shopping. The woman behind the counter froze for a second, then paged for a manager. A short, balding man in a blue vest came over. Then security was called. We all walked back to the entrance together. He was gone. No car pulling out. No person walking away. Just vanished. They pulled the security footage. And yeah, he was there. From the toy aisle to groceries. No purchases, no talking, just lingering, just trailing. They flagged it, made a report, said they'd keep an eye out if he showed up again. But it didn't feel done to me. I called the non-emergency police line and filed a report, told them everything, gave a description. A store manager backed me up, but without an actual confrontation or crime, there wasn't much they could do. And that's what gnawed at me, that nothing happened. Because it almost did. That sense of him rehearsing, following us like it was routine, knowing how long he could hover before drawing suspicion. Never too close, never too far. Like he'd done this before. Like he knew what to look for. The next morning, I bought a dash cam. I didn't care if it wouldn't stop someone. I just wanted proof, just in case. And I haven't let Liam wander alone in a store since. He asked me a week later why he always had to stay near the cart now. I didn't sugarcoat it. Because I didn't like the way that man was looking at you. And it wasn't harmless curiosity. It wasn't just odd. It was calculating. He waited for the right angle. The moment I wasn't looking, it was broad daylight, a busy store. But he followed us through like we were on his list, and for the first time I realized, sometimes the scariest people are the ones who never speak a word. I never used to be the kind of mom who hovered. I grew up with the kind of parents who let me ride my bike until the streetlights came on, so I always figured I'd do the same with my daughter. Let her explore a little, be independent. She's smart, observant, kind, not the kind of kid you worry about. That changed on a hot Tuesday in early July. It was supposed to be a quick back-to-school run at Brigham's Market, this oversized department store in the quieter end of Millersburg, Indiana. The kind of place that sells everything from watermelon to wiper fluid under one roof. I figured we'd beat the chaos by going early. The place would still be stocked, and the real back-to-school crowd wouldn't roll in until late July. My daughter Ava was 7 then. She had these oversized glasses and one of those contagious full-body laughs. She was always asking questions: how glue is made, why cats purr, what clouds feel like. She was the kind of curious that made strangers smile but made me double-check locks at night. We'd already filled our cart with the usuals: folders with cartoon characters, a rainbow pack of gel pens, glue sticks, a plastic pencil case shaped like a watermelon. We were in the school supply section, which backed into the toy aisles. "Can I go look at the dolls?" she asked, hugging the cart like it was a jungle gym. "They're just 2 aisles over, right?" I asked. She nodded. "All right. But remember what we said. Don't talk to anyone unless they're wearing a red shirt and a name tag. And if something feels weird, come get me. I'm just here comparing binder sizes." She grinned, gave me a little salute, and darted off. I glanced at my phone. It was 11:22 a.m. I texted my husband to remind him to pick up milk on the way home and started checking binder rings, trying to remember if her school allowed the metal kind. It couldn't have been more than 2 minutes later when I heard her voice. Not scared, not shouting, just talking. Then I heard another voice, a man's, low and friendly, calm. Something twisted in my gut. I pushed the cart aside and stepped to the end of the aisle. There she was, Ava, standing with her back to me, holding a doll with pink hair. About 4 feet away stood a man, mid-40s, maybe older, short-sleeved button-up, olive cargo pants, a baseball cap that read "Great Outdoors." He wasn't reaching toward her. He wasn't even close enough to touch. He stood casual, like he was a neighbor who'd bumped into her on accident. He was smiling, not a grin, just a soft practice smile, like he'd said this 100 times. "You gotta know where to look," he said, pointing toward the back of the store. "They keep the good toys on clearance near the loading bay. Most folks never even check back there." I stepped around the corner fully and started walking. Not running, not yelling, just enough to let him know I was there. I heard Ava say, "But that's not where the dolls are." As I got closer, I placed my hand on her shoulder. Calm, steady. "Hey, sweetie," I said. "Do we know this man?" Ava looked up, blinked once, and said, "No." The man's expression didn't change. His smile didn't twitch. He took a step back, palms up, like I'd caught him reading a book over someone's shoulder. "Oh, sorry, just being friendly." She said she liked dolls, so I told her there's some cheap ones back there. "Do you work here?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, just doing some shopping." He turned and walked away. No hurry, no guilt, just turned and walked. I held Ava's hand tight and followed. He didn't go toward checkout. He didn't grab a cart. He didn't glance at shelves. He walked past the electronics, through men's apparel, then through outdoor gear. He didn't break pace. Then he passed seasonal decor, past the garden section, and right out the automatic doors. No cart, no bag, no receipt, just gone. I didn't chase him, didn't shout. I just stood at the glass trying to make sense of the normalcy of it. The quiet, intentional exit. Ava looked up at me and asked, "Was he bad?" I didn't answer. I just walked with her to customer service. The woman behind the counter was maybe 22, clearly flustered but trying to keep calm. I told her everything. She flagged down a floor manager named Brian. I gave a full description. The hat, the pants, his height, the way he walked out without buying anything. He didn't touch her. He didn't yell or act aggressive, I told him. But he tried to lead her toward the back of the store. He pointed toward the stock area and said there were free toys there. Brian nodded slowly, then walked us over to a podium near electronics and had security pull up camera feeds. He said they'd look into it, see which camera he might have shown up on. After 10 minutes of waiting, he came back. We didn't catch him clearly on the front cams. Sometimes the angles miss the entrances if they're crowded. No one here recognized him. "Do you think he's done it before?" I asked. He didn't answer that. Just asked if I wanted to leave my number. I did, but I didn't expect a call. We didn't finish shopping. I walked Ava out with one hand on her shoulder the whole way. She didn't squirm, didn't protest. I think in her own way she knew something was wrong. That night I made her favorite, shells and cheese, the kind with too much butter. We ate at the table. I sat beside her instead of across. "Sweetie," I said carefully, "when someone talks to you like that, someone you don't know, you come get me, okay? Even if they seem nice." Was he trying to take me? I looked down at her empty bowl. I don't know. And I didn't. That's what scared me most. He didn't look dangerous, didn't act scary. He looked like someone's uncle. He acted like he belonged. That's what stuck with me. 2 days later, I called her school and asked the principal if they were doing a stranger danger seminar before fall. They usually did one early in the year, but I asked if they could do one sooner. He agreed. Since that day, Ava doesn't go off on her own in stores anymore. She stays close. She understands now, more than I ever wanted her to. And I think about that man more than I care to admit. Not because of what he did, but because of what he almost did. He was confident, casual, like he knew exactly how long a parent would take to choose a binder, like he'd done it before. And I've asked myself over and over, what if I hadn't heard her voice? What if I'd been distracted for one more minute? What then? You always think it can't happen to you. You tell yourself you'd notice, you'd see it coming. But monsters don't always come with claws. Sometimes they come with soft voices and baseball caps, and they're just an aisle away. I never thought a stop for mouthwash would make me question how safe we really are in public places. It was late August 2021. Still humid, still tense, those weird in-between months after the worst of the pandemic, when everything felt normal again, but wasn't. People were out more, stores reopened, but everyone was still kind of on edge, like we were all waiting for the next thing to go wrong. At the time, I was working third shift as a private night security contractor at a textile depot outside Florence, South Carolina. Long hours, no AC, a lot of walking. I was living in a rented studio apartment behind a car dealership and barely saw the sun most days. It paid all right, but the schedule wore me down. I'd usually swing by the local grocery or Walmart on my way home since it was less crowded then. That particular night, I got off around 6:15 a.m., sore and sweaty, with my back aching from standing too long in those damn boots. I was still in my uniform, navy shirt, black tactical pants, badge clipped on, and a radio clipped to my belt, even though I wasn't on duty anymore. I had run out of essentials, mouthwash, deodorant, and needed a new pack of socks. Plus, my phone charger had started acting up and I didn't want to be without it. Just simple errands, quick in and out. I pulled into the Walmart on Ashbury Road, one I'd been to 100 times before, parked on the side near the lawn and garden entrance. It was early, but the sun was already up and the lot had a few scattered cars. I remember yawning as I grabbed a cart, still thinking about the call I had taken at 4 a.m. about a raccoon tripping the motion sensor. That was the kind of week it had been. I didn't notice him at first. He blended in, average build, maybe early 50s, wearing a clean gray polo, khaki cargo pants, and work boots. He had a walk that reminded me of someone used to giving orders, straight back, arms loose, no slouch. I was headed toward the hygiene aisle when I heard, "Morning, sir. Forgot your phone out by your car, maybe?" I stopped mid-step. The guy was about 10 feet back, standing next to the seasonal aisle divider, one hand resting on the end of a display rack. I hadn't seen him walk up. I looked at him. "Sorry?" He smiled. "Just letting you know. Might have dropped your phone out by your car if you want to check before someone grabs it." I patted my pocket. My phone was right where I left it. "No, I've got it," I said. "Thanks, though." He gave a nod like he meant well. But something was off. He wasn't wearing a Walmart vest, no name tag, no walkie, not even a clipboard. But he stood like someone used to being on the inside. "You work here?" I asked. "I help out," he said casually. "With loss prevention stuff, just keeping an eye out." I raised a brow. "Do you have ID?" He chuckled lightly. "They don't make us wear them anymore. Too many complaints from customers during COVID. You know how it is." That was bull. Even post-COVID, every legit employee I'd seen had at least something identifying them, especially the loss prevention folks. I muttered and started walking again, slowly. I turned down the aisle with shampoo and bath items. When I stopped to grab deodorant, I glanced behind me. He was there again, halfway down the aisle, just browsing a shelf, but not really looking at anything. My neck tightened. Years working security teaches you how to read posture. His shoulders were too square, too alert. I picked up the pace, turned left past aisle 10, then another quick right. I looped around electronics and ended up in toys. I wanted to see if he'd follow. Sure enough, a few minutes later, he turned the corner like he was just wandering. I stood still, pretending to browse remote control cars. "Everything good?" I asked without looking up. "Just checking on things," he replied, stepping a bit closer. Lot of theft lately. You'd be surprised. I turned and faced him. You ever gonna show me some ID? His expression changed just slightly, mouth tighter, less friendly. You could be more respectful, he said. I'm just doing my job. Then get your supervisor. I'll wait right here. That's when his whole demeanor shifted. The fake polite energy dropped. He looked me over once more, then gave a short huff. Whatever, man, he said and turned on his heel. I stood still, watching as he walked away, not toward any employee area, but back toward the entrance near self-checkout. My heart thudded in my chest. I didn't like that interaction one bit. Something wasn't right. I walked to the customer service desk near the front. A young woman in a blue vest was helping someone return a blender. When she saw me waiting, she smiled. Can I help you? Yeah, I said. I think there's a guy pretending to be security in here. Her smile faded. What does he look like? I described him, his clothes, height, build, what he said. She exchanged a look with the older woman behind her, maybe a supervisor. Can you wait just a sec? She asked. A minute later, a short, square-built man with a real badge and radio came out of the back office. His name tag said, Daniel, Asset Protection. I explained everything again. Daniel frowned deeply. We've had someone matching that description hanging around the parking lot before, he said. Usually early morning or right before dusk. I offered to walk him toward the front exit where I last saw the guy. We didn't see him inside. Daniel called another team member on his radio, and they checked the parking lot while I stood near the registers, scanning the area outside through the sliding glass doors. I didn't see him. 15 minutes passed before Daniel returned. He shook his head. He's gone. Again. Again? I asked. Daniel nodded. We've had 3 reports this month. He doesn't go after merchandise. He targets shoppers. Usually alone, usually early, usually people who look tired or distracted. Says things like you dropped something or he's with security. We think he's trying to lure people outside. To what end? Daniel didn't answer for a second. Best guess? Robbery. Maybe worse. Could be working with someone. Hard to say. I filled out a quick incident form and left shortly after. They offered to have someone walk me to my car. I accepted. I didn't get everything I came in for that day. I skipped the charger. Just wanted to get back in my car and lock the doors. The thing that stuck with me the most wasn't what he said. It was how normal he looked. Calm, confident, like someone who knew exactly how much time he had before someone called him out. That morning, I ordered pepper spray online, started shopping during busier hours, and I made damn sure to look over my shoulder, especially near the garden entrance, because people like him, they count on you being tired, distracted, polite. They count on you not wanting to make a scene. But I've worked too many night shifts, seen too many reports, to play along. And now, if someone in plain clothes asks me to follow them to their car or says, just step over here for a second, I don't give them a second. I give them a loud no. And I walk, straight toward the cameras, straight toward the crowd. I don't normally tell people this story, not because I'm scared they won't believe me, plenty don't, but because I've spent the last year trying to stop thinking about it myself. But every time I walk into a public restroom, especially alone, I'm right back there. I hear the boots again. I feel the air shift again. I feel watched. This happened last fall, on a Thursday in early October. It was around 6:30 p.m., and I'd stopped by a Walmart on my way to work. Not a big, dramatic shopping trip or anything. I was picking up a few things. Some travel-sized toiletries, protein bars, hair ties, and one of those electrolyte drinks I always bring for night shifts. I work the overnight ER shift at Crest Hill Medical in Ravensfield, a mid-sized town a little outside Pittsburgh. I'm an RN, been one for almost 8 years now. I mention that not for sympathy, but because anyone who's worked in a hospital long enough develops a second sense for people, for danger, for the moment when something's wrong becomes a certainty, not a suspicion. That night, I'd gone to the gym beforehand and hadn't had time to swing by home, so I still needed to change into my scrubs. I was running behind, but I figured I had just enough time to stop at Walmart, get what I needed, and change in the locker room at the hospital. By the time I was ready to check out, I realized I needed to pee. Not desperately, just the kind of, if I don't go now, I'll regret it later feeling. The restrooms were at the front of the store, right by the customer service counter. You've seen 100 bathrooms just like it. Fluorescent lights, sterile beige paint that probably has a government code, cracked tile floors, and that faint smell of lemon disinfectant trying to cover something older and worse. It was empty when I walked in. No voices, no echoing footsteps, nothing. I went to the second stall from the end, set my small basket on the hook, and sat down. I remember scrolling through my phone. My husband, Nate, had sent me a meme about nurses being 60% caffeine and 40% sarcasm. I was texting him back when I heard the restroom door creak open. Click. Then footsteps. Not sneakers, not flats, boots. Heeled ones, steady, confident. They walked in and stopped. Not near a stall, not in front of the mirror, just somewhere. I couldn't see from where I was sitting, and I didn't lean down to check. At first, I thought maybe someone had come in and was checking themselves in the mirror, maybe reapplying lipstick, texting, or waiting for a kid. But nothing happened. No stall doors opened. No hand dryer. No cough, shuffle, sigh. Just silence. A minute passed. Then 2. Still no movement. It's strange how quickly your brain shifts. At first, I was just annoyed. People do weird things all the time. But after a few minutes, my stomach started to tighten. It wasn't just quiet. It was still, intentional. I set my phone down, listened. Still nothing. I leaned forward, just enough to glance under the stall wall. There were boots, black leather, sharp-pointed toes, not dirty, not scuffed, standing by the tiled wall near the door, facing directly toward the row of stalls. Just standing there, not pacing, not adjusting position, frozen. I remember my heart kicking once hard, then settling into that fast, shallow rhythm. Not panic, not yet, but dread. I waited. I didn't flush, didn't move. I just stayed there, ears straining, breathing as quietly as I could. Why wasn't she saying anything? Then the irrational started slipping in. Was she sleepwalking? Had she heard me and gotten spooked? Was she waiting for someone? But none of those made sense, because she'd come in, walked a few feet, and stopped, and hadn't moved since. I checked the time. 8 minutes had passed, 8 minutes of silence. So I picked up my phone and did the only thing that made sense. I texted Nate. Weird situation. Woman in Walmart bathroom just standing by the door, not moving. Been here a while. He called me instantly. I answered but whispered. Don't say my name, I said quietly. Just stay on the line. He asked what was happening, and I tried to explain without making noise. And that's when I heard it. Click. One of the boots turned slightly, then creak. The door to the restroom slowly opened. I didn't hear her walk out, just the door creaking, then a soft thud as it closed again. I waited. 5 seconds, 10, nothing. Then I leaned forward again. She was gone. No boots, no legs, no sound. I stood up, flushed, grabbed my basket with a hand that felt rubbery, and stepped out slowly. The bathroom was empty. Even the air felt empty. I went straight to customer service. My voice was calm when I spoke to the woman behind the counter. I'm trained for calm under pressure. I explained what happened. She nodded slowly, like she'd already heard weirder, and asked if I wanted her to call a manager. I said yes. A man in a red vest and headset came over. I told him too. Then security was called. A heavy-set guy named Brian came over and offered to walk me to my car. I said I was heading to work and just needed to change. He walked me out anyway. I appreciated it. Later that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not because anything happened, nothing did, but because it felt like something almost did. The hospital was quiet around 3 a.m., so I messaged Nate again and asked if he thought I was overreacting. He said no, not at all, but that wasn't the weirdest part. The weirdest part was the next day. Out of curiosity, I stopped by Walmart again, not to confront anyone, just to look. The woman at customer service was the same one from before. I asked her quietly if they'd ever reviewed the footage. She leaned in and said, "Security said nothing showed up on the bathroom cameras, but we don't have cameras inside, just at the door." I blinked. "But she came in, right?" She hesitated. "They said the camera at the restroom hallway didn't show anyone entering in that time frame, just you." I stood there, frozen. "No one else?" She shook her head. "Not till 10 minutes later. An older lady, then a mom with 2 kids. But no one right before you. Or during. That's what they said." She looked uncomfortable, and I could tell she wanted to end the conversation. I didn't push. Back at the hospital that night, I couldn't shake the feeling, because if no one entered the restroom except me, then what the hell did I hear? What did I see? What was standing there in boots, just watching silently? I've gone over it in my head 1,000 times. Maybe she slipped in right behind me and the camera angle missed it. Maybe there's a blind spot. Maybe she walked in and left so quietly she didn't register. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. That wasn't confusion, that wasn't hesitation, that was waiting. And when I spoke to Nate, when a male voice echoed through the bathroom door, that's when she left. I've stopped using public restrooms if I can help it. I always check under the stall doors. I always listen before I walk in. It changed something in me, because nothing happened, but something almost did, and I don't ever want to find out what. I didn't grow up doing wild things. My name's Eliza, and until that day, I'd never stolen anything before in my life, not even a stick of gum. But when you're 16, impulsive, angry at the world, and tired of being broke, stupid decisions can feel like small victories. That morning, I got into a screaming match with my foster mom. I told her I was done playing family with someone who kept reminding me I wasn't really hers. She told me to get out if I didn't like the rules. I did. No phone, no cash, just my backpack and a hoodie tied around my waist. I took the 602 bus to the Omega Mart Supercenter off Highway 91, figuring I'd kill a few hours walking around somewhere with AC and maybe sneak a snack if no one was looking. I didn't go in planning to steal. Honestly. But near the health and beauty aisle, I saw this pack of velvet scrunchies. 8 colors, soft and expensive looking. I imagined wearing them at school like other girls did. No more hiding my hair in messy buns with snapped rubber bands. It was dumb, but I wanted them bad enough to shove one into the front pocket of my hoodie while pretending to check for prices. The packaging? I crumpled it and stuffed it behind a stack of sparkle paper towel packs in the cleaning aisle. I should have left right then. But I didn't. I lingered a bit too long in the snack aisle, debating whether I could sneak a mini bag of chips too when someone tapped my shoulder, heavy fingers calloused and cold. "Come with me," a deep voice said from behind. I turned around and was met with a wall of a man, easily 6'3", built like a linebacker, his face unreadable beneath a close-cropped beard and sun-spotted bald scalp. He wore black slacks and a navy windbreaker, with the faint glint of a badge on the left breast that read, Omega Security. What is this about?" I asked, trying to act clueless. "Theft," he said flatly. I felt my face go hot. "Okay, look. I'm sorry. I can just pay for it. I didn't even leave the store." He didn't respond, just wrapped a large hand around my upper arm, not violently, but with a grip that said, "Don't test me." He began guiding me past the checkout lanes, away from customers, and toward a pair of gray doors near the storage hallway marked, "Employees Only." I wanted to pull away, to protest louder, but something about the way he moved, calm and control, made me feel like I'd only make it worse if I resisted. We passed through the doors into the stockroom. Tall metal shelves loomed on both sides, lined with crates and boxes, dimly lit by flickering overheads. Then he stopped at a narrow door tucked between two mop buckets and flicked a light switch above it. A flight of concrete stairs was revealed, descending into darkness. "Let's move," he said, gesturing downward. I paused. "Where's the office? Don't you usually have cameras? Or like, someone else?" He didn't answer, just stared at me with a blank expression, his hand tightening slightly on my arm. Figuring it was just some janky layout and they kept the security stuff downstairs, I began walking down the steps. As soon as I hit the third stair, I heard a wham. The door above slammed shut behind me. My heart stopped. I spun around and ran back up. "Hey, hey!" I tried the doorknob. Locked. "What the hell?" I muttered, fists banging against the metal. No response. I pulled out my phone. No signal, of course. The stairs creaked behind me as I slowly made my way down. The air grew thick with moisture and mildew. The basement was large, wider than I expected, almost like an underground garage. But there were no cars, no people, just a cement floor, exposed pipes, and in the center of the room, an old wooden chair. Chains and rusted cuffs hung from its arms, bolted to the wall behind it. "This is insane," I whispered. The silence was suffocating. The only sound was a soft drip somewhere to the left. I didn't want to go deeper into the room, but sitting on the bottom step felt even worse. I crouched low and scanned the room. On the far end, hidden in darkness, something smelled wrong. Like meat. Old, spoiled meat. I wanted to believe this was some freaky loss prevention scare tactic, maybe even a stupid prank. But then I thought of the guy's uniform. His badge had looked loose, almost stitched on with thick thread, and he didn't wear a name tag like everyone else in the store. His hands, they were covered in dried mud, and he reeked, like sweat and earth and copper. Something told me this man wasn't Omega Mart security. I pulled my phone again, pacing near the stairwell until a bar flickered to life. I dialed the store. "Thank you for calling Omega Mart," a chipper voice answered. "This is Kristen. How can I help you?" I'm in your basement," I stammered. "Someone brought me down here. A man. He said I stole something. He looked like security, but now I don't know. I think he locked me in." "What basement?" Kristen asked, the brightness dropping from her voice. Just then, the door above creaked open. Footsteps, someone whistling. Creak. The sound of wood groaning under weight. I backed into the far wall near the chair and grabbed one of the chains, wrapping it around my wrist like a makeshift weapon. I held the chair up with one hand, knees shaking. Two figures came into view. The first was the man who'd grabbed me, still in that phony uniform. The second was an older man, shirtless, with gray hair matted in the back and eyes wide with glee. He was barefoot and wore only jeans, the cuffs stained red. Well, the older one rasped. "She's a little spitfire, huh?" "Have a seat in the chair, sweetheart," the security imposter said. "We'll be gentle." I felt my stomach twist. My hands were sweating so bad I nearly dropped the chair. "You tight? I'll bet you are," the old man said, touching himself and licking his lips. "Get the hell away from me," I screamed. "I'll kill you." They laughed. "She thinks that rickety old chair's gonna help her," the imposter chuckled. "I like 'em feisty," the old man grinned, taking off his belt and wrapping it around his knuckles. I backed up until my heels hit the wall. Nowhere to go. The chair felt heavier. Then, "Hey, anyone down there?" A male voice echoed from the stairwell. The men froze. Footsteps thudded above. "Store alarm's going off. Who's messing around?" The two men panicked. The old one hissed, "Go, go!" They darted to the far end of the room and disappeared through a hidden door I hadn't noticed before, one that led out into the woods behind the store. As they opened it, an alarm screamed to life. Red lights flashed on the ceiling. A young man ran down the steps. Store badge. Name tag. Caleb. He stopped when he saw me, wide-eyed. "Holy crap. Are you okay?" I dropped the chair and collapsed to the ground, sobbing. "He said he was security. He locked me down here." Caleb called for help. Soon, the real manager, Kristen, was there. Cops too. The man in the uniform had been caught on a few security cams, but only when I first entered the store. He didn't appear on employee records. No one knew who he was. The old man never showed up on cameras at all. They found a decomposing dog carcass behind the basement pipes. The hidden door? It led to a rusted storm exit that opened into dense woods. Kristen gave me a blanket and waited with me while police took my statement. I asked her what would happen now. "They'll investigate," she said softly. "And Eliza, from now on, don't trust anyone unless they're wearing a real Omega Mart name tag. Security's upstairs. Always has been." I nodded, still shaking. "I just wanted a stupid scrunchie." She squeezed my shoulder. "You're lucky. Some girls don't get to walk back up those stairs." The men were never found, at least, not yet. I never used to second-guess myself in public. I'm not the overreacting type. I'm a single mom with 2 girls, 13 and 8, and I've gotten used to handling things on my own. Their dad lives 3 states away and barely calls. So when something feels off, I don't panic. I pay attention. But what happened that Thursday evening made me question how many times I've missed the signs before, how close we've come without ever knowing it. It was a regular evening in Laurel Glen, a small town in Tennessee that's grown just enough to get a supermart, basically a Walmart clone but with cheaper lighting and even cheaper staff training. We went out after dinner because my oldest, Emma, had been reminding me for days that her gym shoes didn't fit anymore, and my youngest, Chloe, wanted new folders for the new school year. I was tired, but I figured we'd knock it all out at once. We parked under the flickering streetlight out by the edge of the lot. It was one of those humid evenings where your shirt clings to your back 5 minutes after stepping out of the car. I remember it because Chloe asked why the moon looked so orange, and I told her it was probably the humidity or pollution or both. Emma rolled her eyes and said, "It's probably the apocalypse," which was about as cheerful as she usually gets before shopping. We walked in through the garden side entrance. It's always less crowded. The air conditioning hit us like a wall. Chloe jumped in the cart like she always does, and Emma pulled out her phone, instantly bored. I grabbed a basket, not planning to get much. We wandered for maybe 5 minutes before rounding a corner near the Halloween section. It was early September, but the candy was already out. Plastic pumpkins, oversized bags of Kit Kats, foam tombstones. Chloe squealed when she saw the caramel apple lollipops. Then it happened. A man, mid-30s maybe, buzz cut, plain t-shirt, no cart, came around the same corner from the opposite side. Fast. He nearly ran into us. I instinctively said, "Excuse me," even though he almost knocked into our cart. He mumbled something, no eye contact, and stopped right next to the candy. I thought maybe he was just in a rush, but something about the way he stood there didn't feel right. He wasn't picking candy like someone who actually wanted it. He was half listening to us. Chloe asked if she could take a picture of a candy bag shaped like a ghost, and the guy flinched. Literally. Like the sound startled him. Then he glanced at me, just for a split second, and looked away so fast it made my skin crawl. His eyes were twitchy, his jaw clenched, and he had nothing in his hands. No cart, no basket. Just standing there, pretending to rummage through candy. I steered the cart away, brushing it off. We headed to women's pajamas. Chloe liked the fuzzy socks there, and Emma wanted new leggings. I was trying to focus on sizes when I saw him again. The same guy. Walking by slowly, a giant bag of Halloween candy now cradled awkwardly in both arms. He wasn't looking for clothes. He wasn't even pretending. He just kind of passed by. Close. Closer than anyone needs to get in an open aisle. I tracked him as he turned toward the shoes, but he wasn't shopping. He was watching. I said nothing at first. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe he just had poor spatial awareness. I wanted to believe that. Desperately. The girls wandered toward the boys' section, right across the aisle. I was still flipping through pajama pants when I glanced up. The man was in the boy's clothes now, slowly weaving through the racks, still holding that same ridiculous bag of candy like it was a baby or something. He stopped near the end cap, looked around aimlessly, then stared, not long, but long enough, right at my daughters. I walked over immediately, putting myself between him and the girls. "You see that guy?" I whispered to Emma. "The candy creep?" she said. "Yeah, he's been circling." I felt a chill go through me. That wasn't just me being paranoid. Emma had noticed it too. We moved into the girls' clothes section, through one of those small fabric partitions they use to break up the aisles. I lifted Chloe into the cart so I could keep both girls in sight, and started walking slower, watching. I didn't see him for a few minutes. I almost let my guard down. But then, there he was again, now in the girls' section, holding that same bag, pretending to look at glittery justice shirts that were clearly for elementary-age kids. He kept peeking, quick, sharp glances, and the moment I caught his eye, he jerked his head away and shuffled a few feet, pretending to browse. I turned the cart away and pulled out my phone. I didn't even know what I was going to do. Call someone? Take his photo? But just then, he ducked back through the partition and looped around to the boys' side again, standing at the far opening with a perfect line of sight into the girls' clothes. Then he did something that made my stomach flip. He pulled out his phone, looked at it, typed something, then stared directly at me. I froze. He looked away again and walked off casually like nothing happened, but I wasn't calm anymore. My skin felt electric. Something was wrong, really wrong. Then I saw another man, standing near electronics. Older, maybe mid-40s, bald, arms crossed, staring directly at me. No cart, just standing there, near a half-empty shelf of phone cases. I moved again, fast, over to the junior section, acting like I was browsing tank tops. I kept my girls in the cart, both of them now aware something was weird. I told Emma quietly, "Don't wander, stay close, we might leave soon." As I glanced around, a third guy showed up. He walked into the girls' clothes like he belonged there, picked up a Justice hoodie, put it down, walked toward baby clothes, came back, glanced at Chloe in the cart, didn't even flinch when I stared him down, just looked away, and walked back toward the baby aisle. I told myself then, if you're right, get out. If you're wrong, no one's going to laugh at you. But I still hesitated. I still tried to finish. I moved us toward women's clothes, kept looking, didn't see them again. The weird pressure lifted. I started breathing again, deep in my chest. We checked out, fast. My hands were shaking as I loaded bags into the trunk. I drove straight home, locked the doors, and sat on the couch staring at the front door for hours. And now it's nearly 2 a.m., and I can't sleep. Because what if I was right? What if they were watching us, coordinating? What if they were waiting for 1 second, just one, where I let my guard down? The candy was a prop, so was the hoodie. These weren't men shopping. They weren't alone. They weren't random. They were watching. I don't have proof. I don't have names or photos or video, but I have instincts, and tonight, they screamed. I'll call the store in the morning, maybe check if there's footage, maybe just report it so they have it on record. I don't expect them to do anything, but maybe they should know. And maybe someone else, some other mom, won't get lucky enough to notice when the ones who linger get too close. I grew up in a tired Appalachian town most people just pass through. The kind of place where every third house has a busted porch light, and the only place to buy groceries after 9 p.m. is Walmart. It wasn't a bad town exactly, but it was the sort of place where bad things could happen and get buried under small talk and rust. I was 15 the year it happened. Just barely old enough to see the world for what it was, but still naive enough to believe I could laugh my way through the parts that scared me. That fall, my sister Amanda and I had started a dumb tradition. going to the local Walmart with our dad every Wednesday night after dinner. He'd make us go with him to pick up things we forgot on Sunday. We didn't mind. Amanda was 17, funny, loud, and fearless. She made those boring trips feel like something out of a comedy sketch. We'd poke fun at the oddballs we saw there, especially late at night when the strange folks crept out like cockroaches under fluorescent lights. And that's where this all started. That night it was colder than usual, early October, and the wind was kicking up dry leaves across the cracked asphalt of the Walmart parking lot in Pine Hill. My dad parked his old SUV near the cart return, grumbling about the cold and the crowds, and told us to be quick. Amanda and I were already whispering and giggling by the time we hit the seasonal aisle. Halloween candy was out in full force, and she dared me to stick a bag of pumpkin-shaped Peeps in my hoodie pocket, just to freak out Dad. We rounded the end of an aisle, and that's when she nudged me hard in the ribs and pointed. "Yo, that guy's giving full-on creepy uncle energy," she said under her breath. I looked up and saw him. He was standing near the clearance DVDs, not looking at anything, just standing, tall and lanky, with pale skin and thick glasses that magnified his eyes. His brown hair was parted perfectly down the center, greasy and combed so precisely it looked drawn on. He wore an oversized tan jacket with a flannel collar, jeans that looked a size too big, and off-white sneakers with stains on them. I laughed, nervous but playing along. "Okay, yeah, that's a Dateline special waiting to happen." Amanda smirked. "Probably owns a van with no windows." We didn't think he heard us. He didn't even flinch. We kept moving, but he kept showing up. 3 aisles down, there he was again, looking at canned soup. Then later, by the toothpaste. Then again in electronics, just standing near a display of off-brand headphones. Always quiet, always just there. Dad never noticed. He was too busy griping about the rising price of beef. Eventually, we checked out, loaded up the groceries, and went home. The man didn't follow us out. That should have been the end of it. It should have just been a funny memory between me and Amanda. But it wasn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. I chalked it up to the soda I drank with dinner, but there was a pressure in my chest I couldn't explain. I had the covers pulled up under my chin, the box fan on in the window humming like white noise. But I couldn't stop the feeling that someone was watching me, not just a hunch, a presence. I remember getting up, walking over to the window and looking out at the backyard. It was too dark to see anything clearly, but my eyes lingered on the tree line. Our backyard ran right into the woods. Nothing moved. Still, I locked the window, just in case. That feeling didn't go away for weeks. Every night, like clockwork, I'd wake up between 2 and 3 a.m., sweating, heart racing, mouth dry. I told my mom. She said it was too much caffeine. My dad blamed horror movies. Amanda said I probably had a guilty conscience from stealing Peeps. But it didn't feel like guilt. It felt like being hunted. Then came the Saturday my parents left me home alone. They went to visit family 3 hours away. Amanda was at a sleepover. I told them I didn't mind staying alone. I usually liked the quiet. But that day, the air in the house felt heavier than usual, like it was pressing in on me. I tried to shake it off. Played some games, watched YouTube, even tried napping. But I kept feeling the need to look. Out the window, down the hall, behind the shower curtain. I called my friend Jeremy, told him to come pick me up and drive around for a while. Maybe smoke, maybe just chill somewhere that wasn't my damn house. He said he'd be there in 10. I grabbed my hoodie, walked out to the curb, and waited. As soon as I got in his car, I noticed something was wrong. Jeremy wasn't talking like usual. He kept checking the mirrors, kept gripping the wheel too tight. "You good?" I asked. He nodded once. "Yeah, just, this dude's been following me since I left my neighborhood. Didn't think much of it at first, but now he's blowing lights to stay behind me." I stiffened. "What kind of car?" He glanced again. "Silver Toyota, older model, busted right headlight. Plate starts with a P, I think." My stomach flipped. I turned around in my seat. My heart stopped. The silver car pulled up beside us at the next red light, and sitting in the driver's seat was the man from Walmart. Same thick glasses, same tan jacket, same dead eyes. Except now, his jaw was locked tight, his teeth bared, and he was staring right at me. Then he slammed his hand on the horn. I screamed. Jeremy floored it. We didn't say anything for almost a minute, just the sound of the engine and my ragged breathing. "What the hell is going on?" Jeremy finally asked. I don't know," I stammered. "That's the guy from Walmart, the one Amanda and I joked about. But he was outside my window." "You saw him?" "No, I felt him. For weeks. I just didn't know until now." Jeremy turned sharp onto Cedar Drive. "Screw this. I'm going to the police station." The police station in Pine Hill is a squat brick building that used to be a library. We pulled in hard, tires screeching. I was still shaking when we got inside. The officer on duty happened to be Officer Reeves, our friend Kayla's dad. A big man with a kind face and skeptical eyes. He listened to Jeremy's story, then mine, then asked Jeremy if he remembered the license plate. Jeremy recited it from memory. I'll never forget how Officer Reeves's face changed when he typed it into the system. He got very quiet. Then he picked up the phone, called 2 units, and turned to us. "We're sending a car to your place," he told me, "and one to search for the vehicle. Sit tight." My parents were called. They were already heading back. I thought that would be the end, that he'd be gone, that it was all just some mistake or misunderstanding. But 15 minutes later, a patrol unit found the man. He wasn't driving anymore. He was in my front yard, digging through the bushes outside my bedroom window. When they arrested him, he had a duffel bag hidden behind the shrubs. Inside were duct tape, zip ties, condoms, a taser, and a rusted crowbar. And that wasn't the worst of it. The man, whose name I won't repeat here, was a registered sex offender with a history of stalking minors. He'd done time, been released, and drifted from town to town using aliases. He wasn't even from Pine Hill. He'd been living out of his car. He'd followed us out of Walmart that night and parked across from our house for days. Waiting. Watching. The local DA took it seriously. Between the stalking, the intent, and the items in his bag, they had enough to hold him without bail. He never confessed, didn't need to. Everything lined up. After that, I didn't sleep right for months. I kept my bedroom light on every night, got a lock for the window. We installed motion lights. Dad kept his old shotgun close. Amanda never made jokes in Walmart again. The scariest part wasn't what happened, it was what almost did. The quiet way he slid into our lives without us noticing. How easy it was to overlook him. How we laughed thinking we were in control when in reality, we were already being hunted. I was 22 when it happened. It's been 10 years and I still find myself thinking about it at the strangest times. When I'm in a store, when someone walks a little too close behind me, when I hear a stranger say something just a little off. It was 2013. Back then, I lived in a suburb outside of Savannah, Georgia. Not the historic part with cobblestones and Spanish moss that tourists love. The part with endless parking lots and grocery stores and chain restaurants every half mile. I was married young at 20, and by 22 I had a nearly 2-year-old daughter, a mortgage we barely kept up with, and a husband who worked 50-hour weeks doing HVAC installs. We weren't planning on going to Walmart that night. We'd just eaten dinner, leftover meatloaf, I remember that, and the baby had made a mess of herself with mashed potatoes. We were almost out of wipes. I needed milk. You know how it goes. One of those real quick trips. "Let's just run to the one on Forsyth," I told Evan, my husband. "It's closer than the one near the mall." He agreed. He didn't want to go, but said he'd come with me anyway. We bundled up the baby, strapped her into the car seat, and made the short drive. It was a Tuesday, probably close to 8:45 p.m. I remember because the sun was already down and the store looked half dead. Only a few scattered cars in the lot, buzzing yellow streetlights casting shadows. Inside, it was cold. Those fluorescent lights always made my skin feel dry. Evan and I split up. He wanted to check the clearance rack near sporting goods. He was always hunting for cheap fishing lures or ammo on sale, and I took the cart and our daughter toward the baby section. I wasn't in there more than 5 minutes. I had just bent down to grab a little pack of pink hair ties when I heard someone say, "Excuse me." I turned, expecting a store employee. Instead, I saw a short woman, maybe 5 feet even, standing almost uncomfortably close to the cart. Asian, probably in her 50s, with shoulder-length black hair and a calm, polite smile. She was holding a small black tablet and had a crossbody purse that looked bulky. "Yes?" I asked, already taking a small step back. "Do you believe in God?" she asked. I blinked. I didn't really know how to answer. I mean, I'd been raised Catholic, but I didn't go to church. I was never good at confrontation, and I hated being rude, especially when someone seemed nice, so I just gave her a quick nod. "Yes," I said. Her eyes lit up. Not warm, just brighter. "Good," she said. "I want to show you something." She tapped the screen and turned the tablet toward me. It lit up with a slideshow. Words in English, phrases like, "God is not a man, she is waiting," and images that looked vaguely religious but abstract. Clouds, a glowing figure. Some script in a language I didn't recognize. "I'm sorry," I said, trying to edge the cart forward. "I really have to." "Just 1 minute," she said quickly. "It's important. You believe, right? Then this is for you." I tried not to be rude. I glanced down at my daughter, who was playing with the little steering wheel attached to the cart. "No, thank you," I said more firmly. She kept following. Every time I turned an aisle, she followed. She began talking more. Something about a woman prophet, a hidden truth, an invitation to gather. Then she handed me a business card. It had a gold cross on the front and a name, the Spirit and Bride Church, but the back had something handwritten, a local address, not a church, just a house number and a street I'd never heard of. "I'm sorry," I said again, now clearly trying to walk away. She didn't let up. "Do you live nearby?" she asked. "Do you want peace for your daughter? Safety? We're meeting this Thursday. Come, bring her." I held my tongue. I just nodded and shoved the card into my purse. That's when Evan appeared. He walked up from behind me holding a cheap fishing knife in his hand and said, "You good, babe?" The woman froze. She looked at him and something about her demeanor changed instantly. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't offer a smile. She just turned and walked briskly away toward the back of the store. I didn't even tell Evan what had just happened. Not really. I said, "Some lady was trying to get me to come to her church." He made a face. "Yeah? Weird." We paid and left. I didn't think about it again for months. It was January when I saw the post. I was half asleep on the couch, scrolling through Facebook while my daughter napped. A girl I went to high school with, Tasha, had posted one of those warning to all women statuses. It caught my eye because she mentioned a Walmart. "If you go to the Walmart on Windsor Road, please be careful," it said. "There's a group pretending to be part of a church. It's an older Asian woman and 2 men. She's going up to women asking if they believe in God. Then she gives them a fake church address. It's not a church. People have disappeared. My cousin almost got pulled into a van. The police are investigating, but haven't done shit. Please share this." I felt cold. I pulled the old purse out of the closet and dumped it on the floor. It was a long shot. I hadn't used that bag in months. The card was still in the inner zipper pocket. Same church name, same gold cross, same handwritten address. But that wasn't the worst part. I looked up the address. It wasn't even on a street anymore. The listing had been pulled. Google Maps showed a blurry house with boarded-up windows. The door was painted red. I called Evan into the room and showed him. "You think it's the same person?" he asked, going pale. "Same exact story," I whispered. "Same pitch, same tablet." We both stared at the screen. Then I remembered something else. She knew I had a daughter. She saw her, yeah, but she asked me, "Do you want safety for your daughter?" How many other women did she say that to? We tried reporting it. I called the non-emergency line. The woman I spoke to was kind but sounded tired. She took the info, told me they'd keep an eye out. Nothing ever came of it. But from that point on, I never went into a store alone at night again. And I shredded that card. 2 years later, in 2015, there was a short article on the local news site. Barely more than a paragraph. Savannah police investigating reports of group luring women under guise of religious recruitment, no names, no arrests. But I recognized the neighborhood they mentioned. It was where that address had been. A chill ran through me when I read it. It wasn't just me. It was real. Sometimes I try to imagine what would have happened if Evan hadn't shown up. If she hadn't backed off. If I had followed her to that meeting. I think about the women who didn't have someone walk up at the right time. And it terrifies me. The way she smiled. The way her eyes stayed calm, even when I said no. Like she already knew she was getting what she wanted.